Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about things you should never say to a programmer. So let's get into it. So the question in question was pretty much, Frederick, what thing do you feel is very presumptuous by non-technical people and something that they should never really state, or like they should never ask of a programmer? And the short answer is how difficult the task is. That should never ever come into question. Now what I mean by that is basically that when people who are non-technical or get to a certain level of comfort within IT, these are usually salespeople, project owners, project managers, and so forth and so forth. What they will get to a certain level where they feel like they kind of know how difficult something is, or they kind of know how challenging something is going to be, etc., etc. And if you ever get to a point where they start to make assumptions on their own very shallow understanding of systems development, you're going to get in a bit of a pickle. Basically what's going to happen is that in their mind they are going to think that some things are trickier and some things are easier. Now the only reasonable thing any non-technical person should do at any time when it comes to estimating how difficult something is to talk to a developer. You should at no point ever try to estimate it yourself, because you are not a programmer. You have no understanding of this is what we do is magic to you. Let's be honest here. It is basically magic. And I know that's not a very popular thing to say, because I have talked to pretty much anybody who's ever even touched a keyboard, and when I ask them, especially if they're a product owner or like a business developer or something like that, if I ask them bluntly in an IT company, do you code? Most of them will instinctively say something like, no, I cannot really, but I know so. Like, they will never just admit that they don't know how to code, because that's a very bad thing, because not knowing something in today's society is basically an offense that should be punished. Most people will never admit that they don't know something. And I usually reply and I say, why are you doing this? We both know that you don't know how this works, and you don't see me trying to pretend like I'm a PO or a finance person or something like that. This is something that I know. This is something that you don't know, so you should listen to me. And that's the thing that you should really do. If you're estimating work, never ever do that unless you are one of the programmers who is working on that project. So you should at the same time never say to a programmer, but this is an easy thing, right? Because you don't know. Changing the color of a button might be an easy thing, but you can also think about it. If you want a button to, let's say for the sake of argument, a button that is being clicked today and submits a form so that the user can log in, should also send a metric of some sort to one of your metric tracking systems. Is that an easy thing? Well, you don't know, because you don't know how the system is built. It could be that you don't have a metrics gathering library, or it might be that you have some type of security setup that doesn't allow you to access external sources in that fashion. It might be that you already have a metrics gathering system and you want to gather a metric that you don't actually have on that page, so you need to reshuffle around a lot of code in order to get that data to that exact point in time, so that when the user logs in or clicks that button, it actually is sent out. This is the thing, it's high and low. It's very hard. Even things that might be in one scenario, depending on the state of the code, could be extremely tricky, even if it's a small thing to do. And this is the tricky nature of software development, and it is one of the worst things that I know of. It's the thing that makes, and I'm pretty sure I'm not alone in this. The worst sensation in the world for us programmers is when we haven't, and most of us do this, let's be honest here, because when somebody says that, oh, this is the way it's gonna have to work, well, our the initial reaction is usually that, oh, that doesn't seem to be all that tricky. And then you arrive at the code, because when you estimated it in the beginning of things, you didn't actually know what the state of the code base was. But then you get there and you realize that there's someone else who has been building on this for some time, and they have created a situation where you can't actually solve it in the way, or at least in a nice way, and I mean, I've been here many times where, especially I've had this fight with designers so many times where they give me a design on how they want something to work, and then I say, yeah, I'm not going to be able to do that. And then they get really upset with me and go, why can't you do it? Well, because if you want me to do it this way so that it works how you want it, I pretty much have to undo a few, like I'm gonna need to increase the estimate of this story by a few weeks, because I'm gonna have to redo quite a lot of work that has already been done based on another set of assumptions. Just because, I mean, this is the hard part. This is truly one of the hardest things in programming, to be so good at what you do that you can structure things in a way that and foresee all the different requirements as best as you can that's going to come your way in the future, so that you don't get into that situation where you don't get into a situation that makes it impossible for you to deliver on a specific requirement simply because how the system is already working, because then the system owns you. The system is now the limiting factor, and that's a situation you don't want to be in. So what I want you to take away from this is that the thing that you should never ever say or never assume when you're talking to programmers is that something is easy. You have no idea if it's easy. It might sound like the simplest thing in the world, but because you don't know how the code looks, it might actually turn out that this is very tricky. This is why estimations are so goddamn hard, because it's impossible for you to, in the planning stage, without having a really fresh, complete understanding of what the state of the code base is and the exact requirements of something. And let's be honest here, when was the last time a non-technical person or a business person had a full picture of what they are actually buying? I've never seen it, and I'm probably never going to see it. But that's why it's so tricky, because it's basically like turning over a rock where you're asked how many beetles are under this rock. Well, it's hard to know. You have to check it out before you can actually answer it. And then the specifics of how something is supposed to work might also affect how long something takes. So this is why it's so important for you to always defer to the programmer. If the programmer says A and you say B, the programmer is the person that you should listen to, because they are the people who have an understanding of the code, and they are the people who are supposed to deliver this, not non-technical people. Non-technical people should stay the fuck away from estimating how difficult something is and stick to what they're good at, and the programmers should do the same thing. Have a great day.